So you guys may remember the last video we picked up the Z440 for $102 minus the shipping and tax. It wasn't that much, it was okay. And it had a K4200 in here. The video card was a K4200, which is a single slot card. It does take a 6-pin adapter. As you can tell, that's not what's in here now. We've made a small adjustment, including repasting the CPU, because we'll explain a little bit of that in a few minutes. And yeah, we're going to go ahead and take a look at a couple things, including soon we'll put an NVMe in. Not yet. That card hadn't, or that NVMe hadn't gotten here yet. But we're going to take a look and see what this will do. We'll do this, check what the upgrade is with the GTX 1660, and then the very next video you guys will see pertaining to this will be after I do other upgrades that would put this out of, say, the budget range and into the actual gaming PC range. Right now, we're looking at this being a $200 budget, and I think we did it. Oh yeah, so enter the GTX 1660. This baby pulls anywhere in between 108 and 120 watts max. It does have a 6-pin connector here, but that's cool because this box actually has, if I can find the other one here, it does have not one, but 2 6-pin connectors. So theoretically, I could even put a 6 to 8-pin adapter on here, and yeah, I could put something maybe as powerful as a RTX 2070 or RTX 3060. We might have to give that a shot. This is a 700 watt power supply, so I'm not in danger of going past that. This the CPU, I believe, pulls around 140 watts max, so we have plenty of headroom. So as I mentioned, we took the Quadro 4200 out of there, the K4200 out. It's a single slot card, does take power. The main reason for that card is so you have a video out or a video display for that Xeon processor. Now, that type of card does have its function in life. It does things, CAD drawings and all that type of thing, very, very well. It is an older card, so it's not going to do it as well as, say, an RTX version of that same card would nowadays. But you got to remember the time frame we're talking about here. This is about a 10-year-old PC, maybe even a little bit older than that. And that card is limited to 4 gig of VRAM. Now, what we have put in its place, the GTX 1660. Now, we did do some other things, including repasting the CPU, because the temps on that were getting around the mid 80s. And that's not really, I mean, that's not good. I don't know exactly what the thermal throttle on that CPU for that Xeon is, but I can't think it would be much past 90 degrees, and we were getting pretty close. So we went ahead and did a repaste there. Much better temperatures. It was down into the 50s. Sometimes they'd creep up a little bit, but for the most part, we did a very, very good job. The other part of this is using that GTX 1660. Now, when we were testing against the 4200, that's what we did in this case, just to see the video performance increase. I don't know if the CPU would have that much to do with it. We did repaste the CPU before I started testing with the GTX 1660, but that's okay because we also repasted that K4200, and we're going to do that in another video just to kind of test and see how that does in a better system. Spoiler alert, yeah, it did about the same. In any case, we're going to look at a couple of numbers. We're going to compare a couple of things. We're going to tell you a little bit about what we did. Now, this is going to be the last video you will see on this until I get other upgrades done to it in a couple of weeks. But those will push it out of probably the budget range. And or I might do one more. There's going to be one more on an NVMe drive that's coming, but that won't be on this computer. That will be on the drive that happens to be in this computer and testing in another build. So we'll take a look at this and see what we can get for the 200 to 205 price range. We did pretty well here, and if you sell off that K4200, you can probably get a couple bucks back on that. So that would definitely push us under the $200 price range. But yeah, let's take a look and see what this 1660 can do. Now, these tests weren't set about to embarrass that Quadro card, because that Quadro card, like I said, has a purpose. It's the display adapter for that workstation, and there are some things that it does do very well, or did do very well, say 10 years ago. Now, it's limited by the VRAM. But putting in a newer card with more capability, like this GTX 1660, which is more of a gamer type card or consumer card meant for gaming, means that we get quite an increase. We go from barely being able to play this game at, say, around 30 frames per second at 1080p low or 900p low, to getting over 100 frames per second, Shadow of the Tomb Raider. This is quite a major increase. We're talking about 3.5, 4 times, and we're going to see this repeated throughout a couple of things. Much better results here. Obviously, this did an incredible job for being on budget. Now remember, this GTX 1660, you can get these now on eBay in between, say, $75 and like $90 or $100. Which puts this right in the range. If we're talking about $102 for the workstation, $18 for that SSD that I put in there, and say you can get one for $80 or so, 80, 85, that puts us right at that $200 budget. So we're getting 100 frames per second in a AAA title for $200. This is pretty darn good. When we look at Borderlands 3, we tested this in DX11 and we tested it in DX12 because with more modern hardware, DX12 is getting as good or better frame rates than DX11 was. And older hardware, sometimes it's still going to struggle, and that was the case here. We were getting playable frame rates between 30 and 40 frames per second with that Quadro card, but with this GTX card, it's much better. And again, in this case, we're getting about 3 times the performance. Still excellent. I mean, we're going to look at around 100 frames per second. It does very well. Still, a $200 budget where you're getting 100 frames per second in 1080 on a $200 system. I mean, come on. It's hard to beat this. And this 6-core 12-thread processor does a great job just the way it is. Now, we are going to add some more stuff, but we're still going. And now DX12 we took a look at just because that GTX 1660, you would figure it might do a little bit better. And that was the case when you get lower in resolution. Now, the upper resolution, it didn't do quite as well, but 1080p low was better, and we were getting over 100 frames per second, where it did cut down quite a bit with that Quadro card. We weren't getting as good a performance. Still fairly playable. 30 frames per second is still okay, but to get 100 frames per second, and all you did was slap another GPU in there, well, and clean up the thermal paste a little bit. That's pretty darn good. We're talking about a good result there. Cyberpunk 2077, you guys might remember that I tried to use FSR 2.1. I did also try to use FSR 3.0. Total crash and we'll investigate that in the with maybe when I do the Quadro, when I do the video on that by itself. It did not turn out so well. In fact, it crashed and I almost didn't get it back. In any case, we tried it with FSR, nothing on the screen. This was much better just to go ahead and do straight out of the box, no upscaling, and 20 frames per second at 1080p low. You would have to step down to 900 or 720 to be able to play this and make it a playable frame rate. Anything fast moving or fast action is just not going to work. You're not going to be able to use an upscaling on this. We even tried XeSS, and that actually, it worked, but it cut our frame rate in half. So I invite you guys to go back and look at the other video. The numbers on this are a little bit different. I think I might have actually posted the wrong numbers on that video, but 20 frames per second at 1080p low on that without any kind of upscaling. Now, I left the defaults on for the 1660 because I could. And again, we're getting much better, 4 times the performance with this 1660 that we were with that Quadro card. Much better performance. And again, we didn't break the bank. And you think if you sell this Quadro card, you could probably make even a little bit of money back, and it would definitely be below that $200 budget threshold. So what do I think about all this? I think that for $100 for these workstations, if you want a larger computer that's got room for plenty of storage, and you want a decent processor, this Xeon processor, I believe it's the E5-1650 V3, is a 6-core, 12-thread. It is on a little bit bigger platform or a little bit bigger socket than most of the other Intel chips. That's not uncommon to see that, or see workstations like this that have 2 sockets. This one does only have 1 socket. But these Z-series workstations also did come, say the 240 and all that, did come with 7700s in them, i7 7700s. So a little bit different configuration, but these workstations were in that one processor, mid-range, still at that time high output. I mean, really productive machines. But now you can find these all day long for a reasonable price and make what could turn out to be a very good budget gaming PC. Whereas if we were looking 2 years ago, we were seeing all these Optiplexes that, you could buy an Optiplex for 60, 70, 80 bucks, and now you're getting those for around $40. This is a step up, and it's in that little bit upper budget range, but you can still, for under 200 bucks, make this work very, very well. Now, this video, this is just one of a couple of changes. I am going to do a couple more videos on this with this build in it. I'm not going to concentrate on this as the budget build from this point, because it is just the $200, and we can go back and we compare to the other $200 or even the $300 build I did. That's not really that important at this point, but I am going to see if I can't turn this into a little bit bigger class of a gaming PC without breaking too much of the bank either. I could put, with the power supply that's available for this, I can put an RTX 2070 or 3060 in here. I can definitely upgrade the storage. I can upgrade the memory, and we can do all this for a reasonable price and keep it under, $300 or $400, I'm sure. We will come back and visit that. But also the NVMe, we can put that on a PCI adapter card. We can do a lot of things with this system and not break the bank and make this a gaming PC that could rival a modern day gaming PC. But we'll just have to kind of find out, won't we? We'll just have to see. We'll have to see how that works. So if you got anything on this video at all, go ahead and, if you don't mind, throw a like on it for me. If you're not already subscribed, please do. I'd really appreciate that. Don't forget to hit me up on the other socials. I am getting a little bit better at keeping up with those. I'm still not, a lot of stuff's been going on, and soon I will share all that. I might do an update, but for right now, the storm has passed. We're back on a roll. Let's see how it works out. But in any case, if you don't do any of that stuff and you don't visit my socials and you don't click on, like or subscribe or anything, please just do me one favor. And that's be good to each other. Be kind. It doesn't cost anything to be kind. It takes a very little effort on your part. It takes nothing out of your day, and you just might be the one that makes somebody else's day. So obviously that cover is still off because I got things going on behind me. I've got things going on behind me over there, testing that K4200, that Quadro. A lot of stuff, trying to keep up with and doing. I'm starting to do shorts, so you'll see some of those on the channel if you haven't seen them already. But that is it. So until I get myself into something I got no business getting into, I'll see you later.